we get to the book of Exodus, which we're going into, turn to the book of Genesis 15 and 13. Genesis 15 and 13 before we get to the book of Exodus. And when you get to the book of Genesis 15 and 13, someone could read that for me, Genesis 13, and he is dealing with Israel, and he is telling Israel, you are going to be in despair for quite a while, but don't worry about that. I'm going to come get you out after a while. Anybody have that?
Yes.
Oh. Who else? King James. Okay, read nice and slow so we can hear it.
And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
You hear that? You hear that?
Yes.
Know for surety, Abraham, okay? Know for surety that your people, your descendants, that's what he's talking about, Jacob's children, okay?
Yeah.
Know for surety that they're going to be in captive, in a strange land that's not theirs. And you're going to be down there serving them. You're going to be in despair. They shall afflict you. You're going to be in despair. The whole time you're down there, you're going to be in despair. He said for 400 years, okay? And then at the end of that 400 years, he says, I will come again, and I will get you out. Same thing he told Jacob. At the last minute, when the famine was there and Joseph was in charge, he told Jacob after his son had sent for him back in the land of Canaan. He told Jacob, don't be afraid to go into Egypt, okay? For I will surely come and get you out, okay? Those are the promises that God is making to the nation of Israel. Turn to the book of Exodus and look on our list in Exodus. Exodus chapter 1. Okay. Exodus chapter 1. I'm going to be reading verse number. I'm going to start with verse number 5, because basically it's dealing with the genealogies and it's dealing with the ancestry of the people that were taken off into Egypt. Okay, all of those were Jacob's children. Okay, and it says, and I'm going to start. I'm going to highlight when I get to verse number 5. Now these are the names of the children of Israel, okay, which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob, okay? And you know all these are Jacob's sons: Reuben, Levi, Simeon, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher. And then number 5, this is Jacob's children, okay? The 12 tribes of Israel. Verse number 5 says, and all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. For Joseph was in Egypt already. Okay? And Joseph died, and all of his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Israel, which knew not Joseph. Okay? When you're looking at that, you're making your transition from the book of Genesis to the book of Exodus. And when you make that transition, you change main characters, okay? The same characters that was there in the book of Genesis, like Abraham, you don't see in the book of Exodus, okay? Abraham had passed off of the scene at that particular time. Also Isaac, whom you see in Genesis, he is not in Exodus. He too have passed off of the scene. But you do see a man by the name of Jacob who was in Genesis, and he is still carrying on in the book of Exodus, okay? So when you get to Exodus, look at your sheet. It says Exodus. The author of Exodus we talked about was Moses, and you look at the main character, it says Moses. The Israelites brought up in Egyptian Pharaoh's household, okay? Moses was brought up in Pharaoh's household, and a lot of us, we know the story of Moses and how he came into existence and how God called him. We know all that. And you look at the dates that it was written, and you see the settings was around the Nile River. And remember, a lot of times they put the setting and they make sure that they know that you know that certain rivers existed, certain things existed at that particular time, so that you can see the truthfulness in the scripture. Okay, it's not a drama, it's not an allegory, it's truth. Okay, it's history. And if the river was there then and the river is here, is still there now, there must be some truth and validity to the scripture. Okay, then you see the main thing. God uses Moses to deliver Israel from slavery, establish the tabernacle tent as a place of worship. God used Moses. God called Moses to deliver. That's why a lot of folk look at Moses as a typology of Christ because of the similarities there of deliverance. Both of them delivered their people. Moses delivered Israel. Christ delivered us. They had some similar things that were going on. So Moses, some people think, is a typology of Christ, okay? On the same way that Moses was sent to Egypt is the same way that Christ was sent to us. Okay? Amen. Then you look at what did Moses do? He established the tabernacle. And we had the tabernacle. When you get to the book of Exodus and you see the tabernacle was established there to represent basically the presence of God. Okay? That even though God did not live there was no tabernacle that could contain God, but God gave them a place, a meeting place where they would go and meet him, where they would go and make their sacrifices when they found themselves in such a despair. Whenever you find yourself in despair, you need a tabernacle around. Amen. In other words, you need a church around. Some things we don't understand till we go to church. I mean, that's what Asaph said in Psalm 73. When Psalm 73 was written, it was Asaph that wrote that book, and Asaph looked and seen how it seemed like the wicked was the one that prospered and how people seemed to be getting away with the bad stuff that they were doing. When Asaph looked around, he admitted, Lord, I don't understand all this stuff, okay? Asaph says in Psalm 73, I did not understand their end until I went into the sanctuary, okay? Some things you can only understand when you go to church. Some things you can't understand by not attending church, because at church the scripture should be opened and exposed to you so that you will be able to understand some things that you did not ordinarily understand. Y'all take time sometime and read Psalm 73. And it's not written by David, but it's written by Asaph. Okay? And it's talking about the condition that Asaph was in. Okay? He was in despair. That's what he was. He was in despair. And he went from despair to delight. Why did he do that? He was in despair because he didn't understand a whole lot of stuff. But when he went to church and found out that God was in charge, he went from despair to delight. Okay, and that should happen to us a lot of times, because really some things that you don't understand down here will put you in despair. The same way that was Israel's walk all through the Old Testament. That's why we have to look at this as a picture and try to understand Israel's walk through the Old Testament before you even come up to the book of Psalms. Israel often found themselves in despair all the way through the book of Genesis, and then when you get to Exodus, they found themselves still in despair. Because remember, at that particular time, Pastor Milton, it says that in the book of Exodus, it says, and all the souls that went down there was 70 souls. And remember, 70 souls did not constitute a nation. In order for Israel to become a nation, they had to have a law, a land, and a people. Okay? They had the land, the land of Canaan. That was their land, the land of Canaan. God had promised Abraham to go and dwell in the land of Canaan. But they found themselves in despair dwelling in Egypt. Okay? God was trying to make Israel out of a nation so that he would have a genealogy to bring Christ down to. But he did it down through highlighting the Old Testament, down through the tribe of Jacob, down through the tribe of Judah, all the way down. God was establishing a bloodline or a genealogy for Jesus Christ to come on the scene. So whenever you see Israel in Egypt, guess what? they are growing into a multitude, okay? Remember, 70 of them went down and a population explosion took place, and they began to grow and outnumber the Egyptians there. And when they began to outnumber the Egyptians there, remember, a new Pharaoh came on the scene which kneweth not Joseph.
Yeah. All right.
Okay? And he told them that they having babies too fast now. You need to go kill